So let's get down to the wrap-up of TADSummit. Now, we've got 3 sections that we're going to run through. We're going to do an announcement about, shall we put the slides up on here? There you go. About something called TADmentor, or as James likes to say, Tormentor. And I'll just briefly introduce it, and then the guys are just going to chat about it, its importance, and how it fits into what they're doing. And it's very much about trying to harness the power we're creating here of the ecosystem. We'll then do just a sort of town hall, so I'll get down and chat to people, and we'll just sort of talk about some of the things we think are going to happen next year. So it's just predictions for 2016. Taking advantage again of the mind trust we have in this room, and it's just fun, chat, make fun of a couple of the sponsors. And then I'll just wrap up and share with you some of the plans for 2016, and then we'll close. That'll be it. So hopefully by around 3 o'clock we'll close that, and then for those who want to, hang on in this room, and immediately afterwards the Huawei folks will be running their Global Service Innovation Cloud workshop. So we're trying to make it as easy and painless as possible. And then, of course, tomorrow we have RestCon for all the RestCom rock stars and groupies. So for many of us, it's a whole week spent, and a very useful week spent in Lisbon. So let me get down to business. We have most of the TADmentor backers here. We're just waiting on Amos from WSO2. And Vox Implant. Alexei is sponsoring TADHack in Paris, but he isn't here in person, but he's here in spirit. So let me just explain what we're trying to do with TADmentor. The sponsors and partners of TADS have unmatched wealth of experience in telecom app development. We've seen that demonstrated time and time and time again through TADSummit. And also, these guys have an unmatched wealth of contacts in all the relevant people and investors you need to know. So it's a mind trust that we should take advantage of. The ecosystem is focused on helping anyone interested in telecom app development. So if you're a startup, a business, or an individual using telecom capabilities, and that could be APIs, WebRTC, open or closed source platforms, and you're looking for investment or simply some help in building your business, TADmentor will make the TAD ecosystem work for you. So that's the high level. How are we actually doing it? It's very simple. TAD sponsors will have mentorship prizes at TADHack. When developers register for TADHack, they can also register their interest in TADmentor and just enter a bit of information about what they're looking for. And then that'll all be made available to the sponsors so that they can help those developers. And it's all about getting advice, getting help in all the different forms for their businesses. We're doing it, to be honest with you, unofficially anyway. So it's just trying to make it more open, encourage more people to take advantage of the TAD ecosystem. Now, why are we doing this? What's unique about TADs that makes us think that we've got something to offer to the broader community? Well, first of all, it's global. Sponsors come from all around the world, and as do their contacts. This isn't a Bay Area focused or a particular location focused initiative. This is a global initiative. And that leads to amazing reach. We've got a reach that's unmatched by any single organization because it's an ecosystem. And it's local. A lot of the companies, for example, let's pick on Apidaze. You know, the founding team are in Paris, and if you're in Paris, you've got something local. Local matters in getting mentorship. So if you're in Colombo, again, you can take advantage of that. It's open. You can choose what's right for you. It isn't one technology solution in most cases, and we've shown this time and time again in TADHack. It's about mashing up the different capabilities. That leads to some amazing hacks. It's mashing up Nexmo with Apidaze, as we saw with Roger Voice. And it's warm intros. I've raised cash for startups, my startup and for other startups, and getting a warm intro is critical in getting funding success. And it really is an unmatched mind trust across all the different types of businesses. And that's something, again, we've seen at TADSummit, just the amazing variety of businesses that are running on top of telecom capabilities. Now, this is just a beginning. It's very lightweight. We're just trying to get something up and running that helps people understand the power of everybody involved in TADS. 2016 is just going to be a year of experimentation. And we'll refine the process based on experience. And from that, we hope that it'll help grow the TAD ecosystem even faster, and in doing so, help all the sponsors grow their business ever faster. Because that's the bottom line. If the TAD ecosystem isn't delivering to the sponsors, then it isn't delivering, full stop. So that very much we're trying to help the sponsors grow their business through helping their customers be more successful. And this isn't replacing anything that isn't already in place. This is something that just complements, because of the events we run, all the programs that the sponsors have in place. So with that, that explains TAD Mentor. You go to the weblog for TADSummit, you'll see there's a blog I've written that explains what TAD Mentor is all about. So what I'd like to do now is hand over to whoever has a mic. Is anybody? We'll start with Vince then. Is it on?
Hello.
There you go.
So my name is Vince Puglia, developer advocate for Dialogic. And first and foremost, I want to thank Alan for inviting us for this TAD Mentor program. So a little bit about Dialogic. Dialogic's been doing, or been working with the ecosystem for a long time now. We really harness the power of it, and it's really good to be a small part now to a bigger purpose here with the TAD Mentor program. So we've worked with a lot of people here, and we've worked with a lot of people on the stage here and in the audience here, in particular today. Earlier we announced working with Safer Mobility. We've been working with the Telestax guys for a long time now. Been working with the Oracle guys, and even in the audience we've been working with Fondue, Quobis a lot, and we've been working a lot with the community on really growing it. But I guess for me, it's working with them up to a launch, and then also working with them past the launch. So being able to get their great products and their great services out in the world. So we really try and take it a step further with not only holding them through the process of getting to a launch, but also post-launch.
We found Amos.
Todd. Oh, crikey, you're late. Poof. Well, I think everybody knows who I am, I think. We've been supporting sort of mentoring, tour mentoring, for some time, growing young people. And if I look out in the audience, there are a couple of faces who are ex-Truphone type people, who've now gone on to do much greater and better things, apart from you, Neil. Shame on you. It's hugely valuable to grow the next generation. And in an industry that's new, you just can't get people with all the right skills off the shelf because they don't exist. So you've got to grow new people. And it's a hugely satisfying thing to do when you get somebody come in as a youngster, and they're bright, but they don't know a lot. And 2 years later, well, in certain cases, some of my mentors are actually my mentorees, whatever that is, are earning more money than I am. But that's okay.
Exactly.
Thank you. Always hard to top and act like that, but yeah, I don't know about sharing anything dangerous. I just want to kind of restate something that's quite obvious, and most people here know it, that the TADS ecosystem is growing by 4 or 5 times every year since we started in 2013. And that's a crazy fact. What other type of focused event, industry event, is growing at that pace? With that said, it's still a very small world when it comes to the folks that are making a difference, influencing things and moving forward. And I really appreciate that Alan and everybody else on the panel stepped up and said, okay, let's help this new generation, this new wave of exponential growth of folks coming into the industry trying to build apps that are making a difference, new business models. Let's help them with visibility and connections. Each one of us probably have already done this today in the last couple of days, just literally 10 minutes ago, introduced Moshe to Artisan. To me, it's a very interesting match. Artisan is super fast growing. They're in acquisition mode, investing like crazy. They should talk to more folks here. And having a more streamlined channel for doing that, I can't see how that can hurt. Like, instead of like one-off and whenever time allows, let's streamline this.
So I have a mic here. So I'm Sayanthan from hSenid Mobile, and we draw the highest number of developer applications for TADHack year after year for the last 2 years. And interestingly, there was an interesting discussion with Alan when we tried to organize the first TADHack. He said the TADHack location should be open and the developers should be able to just walk in, and I disagreed. And Alan, I said, you don't know the volumes that we are talking about, it'll be just crazy. And then I had to probably convince Alan that we need to do a filtering process. And he said, okay, do that in only that location. And then eventually what happened was, one reason was, of course, the capacity that we could handle at a particular place. But secondly, and most importantly, what we did was, for each team that came to TADHack, we actually put in a mentor. And it was a critical success factor, I would say. Today, if you see companies, or rather teams which came and participated at TADHack, are funded companies today. So it has just transformed, and I think the mentorship had played a larger role there. And it's nice to see that it has now been taken to the next level, and it's been an official thing as part of the TADHack process, which is brilliant.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Luis from Apidaze. So first I would like to thank Alan and Karen and Megan and everyone for all the great organization. We're very happy to have brought with us Roger Voice that Alan mentioned, which is a good example of a mashup with our friends from Nexmo, and probably the kind of situation that we would like to have and to encounter more often. Olivier could testify on this. We have not mentored the project, but we have put a lot of resource to help on some specific areas of the application. He has like a development team and a UI team, but on some specific, and it can also, our help can also be on that, on some specific features, or some special features that they cannot do, and we can help on that. And also connecting to other vendors. Okay, they went directly to Nexmo, but maybe we could have introduced them to Nexmo. And this is something I wanted to mention. Yeah, I think everything what we all do is not new in this room, but when we go outside, it's quite new. So we face a lot of market education issues. I was 2 weeks ago in Web Summit, which is really like not telecom but web world. And most of the people, okay, maybe they know Twilio, okay, but they don't know exactly what they do. But they don't know that there are other companies offering same things or better things or different things or more in a different way. So there is a lot of market education. So on our side, what we try to do is to be implicated more and more in developer events. So as Alan mentioned, and we decided together to make the WebRTC TADHack in Paris after we took the decision after the June TADHack here in Lisbon. And I think this, okay, it's a lot of work to prepare, although there are many sponsors. There is a global and a local work to do. But at the end of the day, that's, I think, the right way that we must have, because that's where the creativity is, and where we can find the future, not unicorns, but the big companies. Thank you.
Thanks. So, as we've seen, innovation now is outside the carrier world, is moved outside the internal teams of carriers, and this is where I think mentoring becomes key to help new startups, new innovative projects to innovate in telecoms. And I'm going to give you this story of a company that we help raise funding for, and we help with technology, is a company called Indaga. I don't know if anyone have heard of them. They just got sold to Facebook, and it started 2 years ago. There is this 2 PhD student in Berkeley that built an open source base station subsystem, open source BTS, essentially. And they took that piece of software and hardware to Indonesia, one of the remote islands, where there's no connectivity whatsoever. There's 3,000 people on that island, and every day, some of them need to travel for 6 hours to the mainland to get connected to the world. So they took that base station hardware and software and connected it to satellite through the internet. But they wanted phone numbers. They wanted to get access to ranges of phone numbers. And they talked for 6 months with the local carriers, with the regulators. It was impossible to get anything done. And they found Nexmo by accident. And they found that actually we offer phone numbers. And they took Swedish phone numbers and they load them into SIM card in Indonesia. And they created a cellular network on this island, and they changed the life of 3,000 people. And if they didn't have that guidance that they can do these things outside the traditional telco infrastructure, they wouldn't have had the success they had today. That's why I think mentoring as an ecosystem is important to create this kind of innovation.
So my name is John Elliott. I'm from Tropo, and Tropo has always focused on developers. We are developers, and we depend on developers' success. Making sure that they have access to the capabilities, the tool set, is our primary focus. Making sure that the UI UX is excellent, that people can use it very easily, is our absolute focus. And so being part of Cisco now, it just gives us more access to some really cool things that can help developers grow their business. So it's access to markets, access to funding. Obviously, we're in Silicon Valley, so we know quite a few VCs can help with that as well. So mentoring is really key for us to help you all get to the next level. And it starts with even micro funding, where we want to focus around certain verticals like healthcare, financial, IoT are key for us, and those are all very key markets for the Cisco sellers. And so Joe Fu, who's here, is focused on some of those opportunities, so we can do micro funding for those opportunities and get applications up and running that then we can vet with service providers, but then also some of the Cisco marketing channels. And that's very powerful. So access to markets is really key. We want to make sure and help you guys do that. And that's the part that we play in this mentoring organization that Alan, in his wisdom and forethought, has created.
So all agreed. Alan, amazing job. One of the things that we always talked about back in Asiata was we needed to be like that. So 2 stories. One from my former life in Asiata, which only stopped about 2 months ago, and what we're planning to do with WSO2 Telco now. So the Roger voice is a fantastic thing, because that's an idea that a bunch of hackers put together for him. Right? And it's about teaching people the art of the possible, whether you can code or not. And so the biggest evangelism we had to do inside Asiata was getting people across that line. And quite often the ideas would come up with business users, but they kind of parked their creativity because they knew that it would take way too long to implement. So the art of the possible just opens up stuff that none of us have dreamed about, and I think that's really important across the board. And certainly the catalyst for a lot of what we did in Asiata was the experience in Sri Lanka, and there's a lot of people that have actually become mini SIs that are working with SMEs to help them do stuff because they now know what's possible with the API ecosystem that was created. And that API system was created on the back of our stack, and part of it was also created on the hSenid stack. So I think that's really important in terms of business use. We have a strategy in WSO2 Telco, which is that we know that we will pivot. We know that what we have will spark a ton of ideas that we may not have thought about, or may spark ideas in verticals that we're not ready for yet. but we have the foundation for it. So the sort of gateway hub, the local business that might be formed around a local hub because of the local nuances could be powered by our platform. And we will support ideas and or businesses in a local level, at a local level, like a franchise, if you like, where we bring the playbook, we bring the tool set, we bring potentially, you know, a ton of connectivity, but they go off and do their thing at their local level. And that can be all the way from a smart city idea down to a very simple idea like managing remote solar stations, looking at weather, or which in fact we've done, or you know, we built a taxi meter, and a bunch of people have gone off and done something with that. And that's all based on the same stack, right? But it's a little organization going through. The other thing is that our coders are hackers, the whole lot of them. Because when we come up with a daft idea, they've got to work out how to pull that off. Sometimes very quickly in order to just prove it. And that's a hack in and of itself, quite often a hack of our own capabilities. And then that gets industrialized if it works or if it looks like it's going to work. So that's also important, and it's in some respects it's matching the creativity. And sometimes you get, I mean, we do hackathons. We're doing one in India, in Mumbai, next week actually, with Barclays. And Barclays are also using, at least the team we're connected with, the WSO2 stack. So we're all off the same code base, which is great. And they're focusing on their Barclays type user requirements. So we're providing sandbox for more generic telco APIs. And who knows what's going to come out of that. But what we will be is there helping them use the code, maybe giving them an example code just to get them across the line. So.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys. So, do we have any questions from the audience? I know it's getting late. It's mid-afternoon, Moshe.
Like, I think somebody said here before that when we're inside the room, everything seems obvious. But outside, people don't know anything about it. And my question is how we can not bring this to the masses, but really bring this innovation to a bigger audience. Because you speak to people in the big telecom, most of them are really either not aware or not interested. Excuse me, some of us were a year and a half ago at WebRTC in London, and basically I think we were pretty much at the same stage. So
it's an interesting one, but I think the concept of hackathons and the concept of crowdsourcing ideas and the concept that, in fact, quite a lot of people who might have spent 20,000 hours playing games in their youth are actually super creative if you can find a way of letting them be who they are. A lot of people talking about game theory and stuff like that. There's a lot of very creative people. I think some of the big organizations are really getting that. In fact, we've been doing a project with a company called Tone in the US State Department based on the USAID program, and they have done hackathons with us to try and solve local problems like fishing stock or people dynamiting fish in Indonesia and other places. So, and in fact, one of those just a couple of days ago won the top VAS product in Indonesia in the telco ecosystem. But in fact, that was initiated by a very large organization that's providing a ton of money to Indonesia to help them grow. So I think it's also the concept of crowdsourcing, the concept of hackathons, the concept of putting lots of components together to make something better than the sum of the parts is beginning to get traction, and we just need to keep advertising that.
Well, I would extend on that and say that directing some of these hackathons for ideas and concepts that the service providers are giving us is one of the things that we really want to focus on. So if they've got a problem to solve, be it an enterprise opportunity or a consumer opportunity, we want to be able to bring that to these hackathons and really focus those hackathons around solving those with creative concepts that then we can take back to those markets and monetize them. So monetization is what I live for. I'm kind of a sales guy.
I mentioned that, yes, when we go outside, for instance, in the web world, nobody is aware of like telecom APIs or whatever. When they are very aware, they know Twilio. and that stops there. What we have experienced is that we try to do hackathons outside also of the industry. So we participated, our platform was chosen for European large hackathon. And today what people, I think most of them are not aware. So we saw lots of hacks, for instance, with the Uber API, even there was like a kitchen app where they could do like a collaborative video for cooking together. So they used a lot of like 3 or 4 different APIs. And I think that's the way developers today envision new products and innovation. It's like I take all these off-the-shelf APIs and I build something together. So I think it's very important also that we as platforms, we go to other environments, smart cities, and any kind of generalist hackathons, and that we show what we can do, because there is really a lot of interest and a lot of traction on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, some of the things we do very practically is, for example, with TADHack Mini in Paris, we're siting at Numa, which is really the fashionable web-centric capital of Parisian development. Other things we do is engage with universities, whether it's IST here in Lisbon, UCL, UPM, IIT. So it's engaging as many of the production factories of the new young engineers that are coming into a whole range of businesses that at least have an appreciation. And I think that's the shift we've seen through 2015, is a lot of people, it was the first hackathon they ever attended, because one of the cultural issues with a lot of hackathons is it's presented as, for big hairy engineers, while we keep banging the drum that TADHack is for everyone. It's not just developers, coders, it's for product people, it's for UI people. So, and that attracts a lot of people in. At the global event we did, we had several people attend over at IST that no plans on hacking. They were there purely to see what a hackathon was, to chat to basically all the sponsors, understand their technologies, and they may have played around with it a little bit over the weekend to get trained up, and then they take it back into their business. So I would say there's a mix of different approaches. We also partner with like SDI in Spain, who have a big list of enterprise-focused developers, and we spam their lists to make them aware of these cool events. And it's onesies, twosies, but we're getting there. We're getting more and more developers involved, both husband and wife teams that won both in Chicago and in Melbourne aren't from the telecom industry, but had very cool hacks that use telecom capabilities. So it's a mixture of little by little, and I agree, trying to do something more strategic as well.
Yeah, I think I'm tagging along to what you said. Personally, I think that TAD Mentor is a good idea for the small companies and people that want to get into this. But actually, I would like to suggest that you have a TAD Mentor for the operators. Because you can think that many small companies think they call that. Yeah, well, it's a different flavor. But really, I think when I talk to people in my company, which is a big company, and you try to convince them that there are good things out there on the web, the World Wide Web, they are getting scared because they don't know this and how to approach and how to host and how to engage. So I think the mentoring is just as useful for those guys that can provide these things. So maybe next year you have a TAD mentoring for the operators.
I think that's a very good idea. And it's something that we push. I mean, Sebastian from Slovak Telecom is a great example of, he's not a developer, but he came in at TADHack Mini London, and with, he's a geek, but, not sort of, trained in coding, but he was able to create a service that demonstrated something that showed that using a cloud-based service, he could deliver something in 24 hours. It doesn't take years and millions of dollars. And from that was actually able to get a project kicked off and announced it at TADSummit yesterday. So I think it is possible. I'll give you, though, a comment I get from many people when I say, we're in London, we're doing a hackathon. Oh, when is it? Over the weekend. I'm just not that committed. And there is a motivational issue as well. And we're a small event, very very limited budget. It's hard to engage when people aren't committed. So I think there's a very important motivational thing. And I agree with you. I think we should look more closely at working with organizations that are willing to get their people motivated and get them involved. Because I am seeing some telcos, especially here in the discussions we've had at TADSummit, a very active discussion how we can get more of the people within telcos to be attending TADHack.
Okay, just a comment to that. I think a good way to do that is, I met a few people here that basically in the same situation as I am. And these are individuals in big companies. And they need help, argumentation, ideas on convincing top management. So money and time is not a problem unless you convince the right people. And I think this is the mentoring part, that attracting individuals that can actually make a change in these big companies is a place to start.
Anybody want to? Okay.
This is a less than fully formulated thought, but one of the things that, within the community, one of the things the mentorship program will actually do is give visibility to smaller companies, both through connections, direct connections. What could the TADS community do for folks like you and Sebastian to help you get that visibility inside the monoliths that you work for? Because I think that's really important, because, success stories are happening. And so what could the broader community do through programs and blogs and various visibility campaigns and things in the broader telecom industry to help you folks get the visibility of kind of like the champions inside the cave, so to speak?
Of course I know the answer to that. No. That's a good question. I think what you mentioned, sharing the success stories. So basically trying to create like an open source community for success stories amongst the people that actually experience them and are willing to share them. All right, so getting access to those. Yeah. But creating that in a form that's easy to communicate to the management, and also maybe getting a network of people that those guys can also relate and talk to. All right. So I think there are many ways of doing it, but I think actually mentoring people that are individuals in big organizations would be a great help, and that will also fuel, enabling more. It's kind of, this is an industry in some kind of trouble to some extent. All right, so trying to gang up together to expose all the goodness that we can provide for people is a good thing for the total industry. So sharing success stories, sharing recipes. Now people are actually open sourcing things, but discovering these things takes a lot of energy, and sometimes it's only by luck. So if you could have a network, you could have success stories shared, open source. I contributed my recipe, more of those, then maybe we can do it.
It's not just a success story from a business point of view, because obviously if anything is successful and moves the needle in the context of a telco, they'll look at it anyway. I mean, one of the biggest issues with digital services in telcos is that 3 or 4 years ago, people were going, it's going to be 500 million, it's going to be whatever, and it wasn't. And the only way you'll ever see those returns, which the CFOs don't buy anyway, is by buying into a company and then going on a 3 or 5x multiple because because that's what the economy is doing. But the real issue is the process behind it. It's the industrialization that telcos think they need. So the bit they haven't got over is that 3 nines is fine. And that's what Amazon gives, and they're not for changing. Right? So in a lot of respects, it's also just for after someone said, fine, let's go for it, it's getting everybody else on that track.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Which is the thing I'm trying to solve. But.
So we have time for one more question. Okay, I'll grab you at the back there.
So how could the mentor program actually help someone who's probably participated in who's won, say, a hack, and everyone thinks, oh, that's a great idea. He won, and he got a prize for it. And then, so what happens to that idea? It dies off because, well, nothing's done with it. Is it just because it's a cool idea, so it's more focused on technology, and it's not cool enough to turn into a business and start a startup? So how could we move from a good idea and turning that into something that's marketable?
Okay, I think I can have a crack at that one. We've become involved in a number of these tech incubator type organisations. A number of them springing up in London at the moment. And quite often, a place in the incubator will be given as a prize to the winners of a hackathon or similar sort of thing. So you get something like 3 or 6 months worth of rent-free accommodation and mentoring in this organisation. And I'm looking at Helen and saying, oh no, that's very bad. Yeah, well, you don't get anything for nothing. But yeah. But you know what? If you have the choice between potentially succeeding, and giving up 6% of your business, or just not even getting a leg on the ladder, I know which one I would go for. So, you know, I think it's a good thing. What do you think, audience? What do you think, panel?
Well, I think the answer is really depending on the teams. I mean, there are people who are just coming at different levels of knowledge when they come to hackathons. They come like, for the weekend, I have an idea, or I just want to spend some time. We had, for instance, in London, the Lightspark startup, who just raised money now. They came to the hackathon because they wanted to be able to receive calls into their video conferencing app. So they were looking for a solution, so we worked 2 days with them and we helped them on that. Then they walked away. I think they don't needed us really like much more than that. I mean, other than support or whatever. And when you were asking your question, I love startups and I build some startups. I mean, a startup is not a hackathon weekend. It takes a little bit more time. You have to you have to start from an idea, but then there is a lot of work. And I think we, as entrepreneurs, I'm always happy to give advice and to spend some time helping someone. And it sometimes happens when there are hackathons. I seen one team, for instance, last year, who is already in the 4th hackathon, and each time they come with the team is one person bigger, but they are still working in other outside companies, but they are like iterating for trying to find a nice concept of startup company. But it takes time. So, but they come from one hackathon to another with new ideas. They call me sometimes. They send me mails, and this is something I'm okay to do that.
And maybe just one comment from Sayanthan, because you've got a recipe that's generated several successes to that point.
So actually there are 2 categories of mentors out there. One, during the hackathon you need technical mentors to get the thing working. But post-hackathon, we normally assign a business mentor to work with them to get it working on the market. So that has worked out very well for us. And then, for example, when we run TADHack, post-TADHack, we run another competition. And we throw out some goodies to them. And they are judged just based on how much money that they make with the application or service that they've built. So, and that's about 4 weeks or 8 weeks that we give. Depending on the context, we announce that. And we announce some goodies around it. And those 2 factors has worked out well. So it's a very valid point. And then we've seen the hack that wins the hackathon probably is not the hack that actually makes money. It's something else.
So what I suggest is, because of time, let's thank the TAD Mentor backers, and let's try and generate some successes through 2016. Thank you very much, guys. Now, we were going to do some predictions for 2016. You can go down if you want, so you're not in the spotlight, or you can stay up here if you want, if you like being in the spotlight. It's up to you. We'll skip the predictions for 2016 because we did spend some good quality time discussing TAD Mentor, and if we go on to predictions for 2016, we could be here till 4 o'clock. So I don't want to do that. So I'll skip over this. There were some fun ones, like will we see more M&A like Cisco Tropo? Who is Nexmo next? But we can do that in the bar this evening. So first of all, thank you to everyone who stayed through to the end. Why are we here? I said this right at the start, because we're open. And TAD Mentor is just one of a number of examples of what openness enables. I have to thank the sponsors, because really, without them, this isn't possible. Apidaze, Dialogic, Ericsson, Genband, hSenid Mobile, Huawei, Matrix, Metaswitch, Nexmo, Oracle Communications, Telestax, Tropo, Truphone, Ubuntu, and WSO2, as well as the many partners. Just to highlight a few, Zoipa, Tyntech, OpenCell, who you saw in the Dangerous demo, and CM Telecom. I just want to quickly share with you what our plans are for 2016. As always, we're not a big organization. It's just me basically driving it with the help of people around the world and the help of all the sponsors. What we're looking at for 2016 is we're in the middle of trying to get a mini together for Tokyo on the 13th and 14th of February. Yes, we don't have much time. Possibly getting involved in a Hack for Good. This is a massive hackathon, and to your point, Moshe, where it's very web-centric. This isn't telco people at all, and just being a component of a far larger event and showing all the cool things you can do with telecom capabilities. TADHack Mini London, which was very successful, and Sebastian is just one of many successes that were generated out of that. We're opening up Latin America. So Fernando at the back there, is he still there? There he is. Hey, Fernando. Is working very hard with the universities in Uruguay. So we'll hopefully have TADHack Mini Montevideo on the 7th and 8th of May. Again, engaging the amazing universities there and all the students, as well as, of course, the broader ecosystem. Then what we're planning to do, because we took the feedback from all the developers, especially the students and the universities that help us, in pushing TADHack from June to October, so that it's a lot easier for the students. There's no exams. They've got off after the initial fresher weeks and the rest, and we're avoiding all the Jewish holidays as well. It's a complex problem arranging these dates, you know. So we're looking at TADHack Global, 14th, 16th of October. So we're running it from Friday through to Sunday, because some of the universities want to run Friday, Saturday, not Saturday, Sunday. Some want to skip the Saturday, so we're just doing it over 3 days. The key with the global event is it's everywhere, it's distributed, because we want to lower the cost of getting involved, and the way you do that is by making it as local as possible. And then we're thinking of the summit 15th, 16th of November, and we might split it into an east-west, because we do want to get more East involvement. We were in Istanbul last year. We started in Bangkok as the first event. So we might do something where we do one in Colombo and then maybe one in Lisbon 6 months apart. We're thinking about it. You know, it's a year away. We'll basically talk to lots of people and get some feedback. So that's the plan. So it's sort of growing the ecosystem, trying to take telecom app development to as many developers who aren't telco related as possible. And the key is we've got a 1-2 punch, because we do TADHack in October, we do TADSummit in November. No other event on the planet can do that. Because when you do TADHack, you have a month of just tweets, blogs, the content, the attention when you look at the website is massive. And we can use that to feed into TADSummit so that we can really, I think, move the needle more significantly on getting far broader set of not just the telco industry, but all related industries getting involved and seeing what they can do with telecom capabilities. So just to wish you safe travels. We'll hopefully see you around in TADSummit, TADHack through 2016. see you at the GSIC workshop that's going to be happening in a few minutes, and also tomorrow with Telestax RESTCon event. And then finally, just to finish off, on the 12th and 13th of December, we have TADHack Mini Paris, so please, if you can, come along, register. We have Apidaze, Circuit, that actually just got bought by Atos Origin, Matrix, Telestax, Tropo, Vox Implant, and of course Numa, who is the trendy, fashionable place in, and it's Numa Santier that we're basing the event in. We are hopefully, if we can twist James Tagg's arm, we can get Truphone involved in it as well. We'll see. And just to say, it's going to be a very cool event because, can you read that? We will have the Randy Resnick Trio on Saturday evening. Thank you so much, Randy. And you can listen to his music as well and then link through to SoundCloud and listen to far more of it. So it's going to be a very cool hackathon. And as James Bodie said, it's going to be the TADS Christmas party. So thanks so much. And with that, safe travels. See you again soon. And thanks so much for all your time.